Yeah, I think we've all been there. You launch up your favorite dating sim, excited for familiar adventures alongside a group of unreasonably attractive waifus, but for some reason it just doesn't hit the same. Be it an obvious burnout that usually happens after you spend plus 500 hours on a certain hobby, or some personal preference, your favorite video game is at this point a memory that should be just appreciated, and trying to replicate those first memories won't necessarily bring you happiness. Baldur's Gate 3, which requires no introduction, has been a huge part of my life and has shown me an immense amount of fun time I can have while immersed in a proper role-playing video game. And I've played it for a silly portion of time. I've even made a couple of videos on it that I would recommend watching only if I wanted to inject you with a copious amount of second-hand embarrassment. I've tried to play it once again with the release of what is called a final patch, but quickly realized that playing through Act 1 is a torture at this point. Raw dogging another Baldur's Gate playthrough seemed like a challenge that I shouldn't even be taken upon. And so I realized that if I really wanted to experience this peak once more, I have to go out of my way, leave my comfort zone, and make this adventure as unrecognizable as possible. No more Mr. Nice Guy that picks all the right options, goes with the same build every single time, and has basically memorized every dialogue, every possible thought of every NPC to point of being able to 100% first act while blindfolded and listening to Chinese Bible from the right ear. And I do believe I achieved that through a number of dry but also controversial methods. Methods that I will carefully organize and arrange right here. This video is a guide, I guess, but also it's a journey that I went through myself. Watch it until the end to find out how in the hell am I able to move through this journey as if I'm doing Baldur's Gate 3.6 any% no exploit speedrun. Choosing the right class for a task of generating novelty in my playthrough, there wasn't a better choice than Wild Magic Sorcerer, with its ability of, you guessed it, making the magic around it go wild. It's a sure method of bringing new conditions to the same old fights. Sometimes it's straight up hoppy surges of chaos like getting a second action, but other times it's some crazy shit like summoning Fireball on top of my opponent and turning into a sheep afterwards. Spontaneous, even by the standards of Wild Magic's magic combustion, found of outer planes that fucks everything up by simply flying out of bounds, powerful surge that turns me into a disaster to local populace, a spell that magically turns me into a boy, and plethora of other effects will generate some, let's say, bizarre situations for you to engage with. And that's not to say that it's the only right choice. This final patch, for example, adds 12 new subclasses, one for each class, and that naturally provides even more choice. Like it was not enough before. You want me to play this shit for another 500 hours, Solarian? What I'm getting at, that if you are as mentally ill as I am and for some reason go for the same build every single time in games that provide a deep build variety, you'll thank yourself later for trying something different. Yep, that's life for you. And I am a genius for figuring it out, am I not? Customizable difficulty was also very helpful in this endeavor of mine. I, for example, am very good at video games, thank you for noticing, and have rightfully earned my golden dice the moment I could. Do I need to prove to myself that I can beat this game with one save file once more? Probably not, but Honor Mode also brings in new mechanics and some important balance adjustments. That's where the function to customize your own difficulty comes in. Give the mechanics from higher difficulties, bring the dragon ones down, maybe even increase proficiency bonus for every single roll in the game so that fights are less random, and so Shadowheart is finally able to hit that shitty spell of hers. Go wild with it, you are customizing your own experience after all. In the end, I went for a decent combination of challenge and enjoyment, how I saw that combination myself at least. But let's be real, no matter how much we open up to change, this vanilla experience will remain vanilla. We need to season that delicious meal that Baldur's Gate 3 is with some exotic spices, and luckily, right now it's as easy as you could ask for. Now, before diving into this huge mess that modding any game in general is, I want to acknowledge that not all people will be willing to use mods like it all. I myself am of an opinion that raw experience is better, and usually prefer mods that enhance that exact experience. Unfortunately, it's not as simple as it might seem to know beforehand which mods will suit your preferences and which will not. But luckily, I've assembled an objectively best collection of mods that simultaneously make the base game feel better and bring innovation in it. So you need not fret. Just trust me in my ability to make that choice for you. So let's skip this autonomy issue and fast forward to you agreeing with me that mods are a great tool for prolonging a great video game's lifespan. I won't be talking much about that lot of mods that are just quality of life mods. They are great and I would suggest you look into them, but describing them them doesn't really inspire me to write some silly joke here in my script. Freshening up some UI elements might encourage you to interact with the game system more though, which aligns with our overall goal of making it through one Baldur's Gate playthrough more. Quality of life mods, transmog mods, silly goofy stuff mods, hot steamy sex mods, just a random collection of not so significant add-ins that still managed to add something new. Which brings us to some actually game-changing stuff. I want to point out two especially huge mods that are, again, can be installed with a click of a button through the in-game mod manager, spelling it out in a way as if I was trying to sell it to you. Have you forgotten the thrill of finding new items? Just checking every single chest feels like a chore at this point. Do you want new stuff? Do you want to create new shiny things yourself? Do you want this game to reach levels of replayability unseen before? It's in the title that we want that. Then let me present to you glorious ancient mega pack. More than 700 new items with new magic effects that are quite good. Ability to craft new items with a simple crafting overhaul. No, for real, it's as simple and intuitive as it can possibly get. But most importantly, all of it is randomly distributed amongst all of those chests that you may encounter, which in a way makes Baldur's Gate 3 a roguelike kind of game, yeah. Speaking from my personal experience, these items are made with care and provide some noticeable bonuses. It actually motivated me to start checking every chest I come across once again, expecting some new insanity those items might bring. Items that encourage letting the blood of your companions flow, or items that make you into a supercharged sorcery dispenser if you let some of your blood flow. Items like that are just the tip of the iceberg this enormous overhaul will bring. And also it ties nicely into this second part I'm about to show. You'll have to test out those new items somewhere. There are plenty of encounters already, you might say. Well, I want more. I want it to be so I can't walk 10 feet without triggering a life or death situation with horrors beyond my comprehension. Honestly, stumbling upon this mod in Mod Manager for the first time, I had a feeling that it's like low quality. Can't even explain why properly. Just my faulty prejudice as usual. It does precisely what you think it will, and it does a wonderful job at it. Basically, you'll get even more opportunities to engage in turn-based tactical, schmactical, tactical combat that Larian Studios and tabletop D&D are so famous for. And it's not just randomly distributed encounters, despite maybe I've been joking towards it a moment before. Whoops. Places for those encounters are carefully chosen to not overlap with base game, and opponents in them are a right fit with their surroundings. Most of the time. I think it was the biggest draw for me to start exploring far corners that I wouldn't even go for in the unmodded version anymore, and in a way it motivated me to explore as if I'm playing through this game for the first time, yet the feeling didn't leave me even then. The feeling that it's all temporary. I needed something big, something that completely changes the way one would approach it, something that grabs the idea of how to play this game in a traditional manner by the balls and rips it out. Is there such a mod? Looking through the wilds of an average Nexus mods page that can't be shown on YouTube without NSFW filter, can we find something that suits that description? Well, I wouldn't be writing such a prelude if we couldn't. That would have been a huge dick move from my side. Trials of Taff Reloaded, because the original is abandoned for some undisclosed reason, is a mod that turns Baldur's Gate 3 into a full roguelike experience. And it's that exact thing I was looking for from the beginning, with a simple approach to its core mechanic where you are immediately transported to the camp and are able to engage with it by just pressing that campfire. It's undeniably a perfect mod for someone who's looking to freshen up the usual hack and slash and flash and splash hustle. You're brought to familiar fields, you fight ever-increasing in difficulty waves of enemies, starting with incredibly silly ones, you get new items, level up, and that's that. I was immensely surprised with how well it works, and especially satisfied with all that extra time I could spend in one of my favorite games of the last few years. To think that I've spent close to 25 full days in this game and am willing to extend that period through various methods speaks volumes on how well crafted that experience is in general, and on how hopelessly deranged my mental state is. And if you are just as obsessed as me, following through these methods might just prolong it enough for the next big Larian Studios project. It won't be Baldur's Gate 4, so maybe you should just give up.